So we're doing a little recording here. Let's see how this works, because there's a few of you off, either with illness or you're on a geography trip. We kind of just want to keep having a go at these, don't we? Seeing how they work out. So this is us revisiting Act 2, Scene 5. And I've got Megan's slideshow here to start us off. Why won't it let me present it? Does anybody know? Oh well, it's not the end of the world. We've just watched the RSC version with Adrian Edmondson as Malvolio, so you might want to quickly rewatch that so you get a sense of what's happening. And we made a couple of notes about how Maria is substituted for Fabian is substituted for Maria. Maria substituted for Fabian? Yeah, Maria's there instead of Fabian. And we talked about power. So I don't know why it's not. Shout if I'm doing some. Can you see where I would click present? No? Okay. So Megan and Neve have worked on this. In this section, Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, Fabian and Maria are in Olivia's court, and they are setting up the gulling of Malvolio. Fabian and Sir Toby see this as revenge, and Fabian needs no persuading to join in on the mocking and humiliation of Malvolio. That's a nice touch, actually, that he just doesn't need any persuading. He's going to really enjoy this. Maria takes control and orders the men to hide in the box tree while she drops the letter. We've got the themes, first of all, of deception and something about class and status. That's lovely. The prank, I like this. The prank on Malvolio is like a play within a play under Maria's direction. I like that. Maria deceives Malvolio by tricking him into believing that the love letter is from Olivia. So we've got people watching a performance, and I guess the thing is that Malvolio is giving this performance whether anyone's watching or not. So if we do end up with a question about performance, that might be an interesting thing to make a note of. I can't see other people writing these things down, and I'm not entirely sure why. Perhaps you at home can tell me. Sarcastic Julie, she's not nice, is she? And about class and status. Maria takes control over Sir Toby and Sir Andrew, highlighting the topsy-turvy motif. Lovely. How else is this scene about class and status, though? It's not just about Maria taking control of the two sirs. Liliana? Absolutely. Malvolio's whole speech is about his ambition. It's about his ambition to be elevated to a higher status. Okay. Hang on, might need to move me. There we go. Right. Now, we've got 3 key quotations here. Boiled to death with melancholy, practising behaviour to his own shadow, and the trout that must be caught with tickling. So your focus for these presentations was to pull out quotations that could be used for AO2. So do you want to tell us why you chose these 3? Do they link back to those themes, or are they doing something different? And has everybody highlighted them in their text and annotated them? Who says that one, boiled to death with melancholy? Who's that? Fabian. What's kind of the context? Why would that be an important one to know? What line is it?
3.
Line 3. So one of the things that, if we're doing this again, we might want to just put one quotation on a slide, line number, and then a bit of context, who says it to whom. Yeah. Come thy ways, Signor Fabian, and he says, I'll come. If I lose a scruple of this sport, let me be boiled to death with melancholy. It's a paradoxical statement. Melancholy is a cold emotion, right? So what else is it doing? Maybe we need to have the first bit of the quotation there as well. If I lose a scruple of this sport, what does that return us to, Neve? What motif have we got recurring in this play? Hunting, yeah, and the sport of hunting. Good, so we've got that motif there. So we're always looking for that AO2 analysis. What about this next one? Practicing behaviour to his own shadow. What line is that? What number? 15. And it's Maria. Malvolio's coming down this walk. He has been yonder in the sun, practising behaviour to his own shadow this half hour. Go on then, tell me about that one. So it's a representation of Malvolio's self-love, yes. But is there any more AO2 to be said there? Any more detailed analysis we can do? Anybody? Go on, have a go. Grace? Yeah. Lovely. The shadow representing, in terms of imagery, perhaps the darker aspect to his personality. Certainly in some productions, Malvolio is presented as a quite malevolent character, that his ambition makes him really quite nasty. So we've got imagery there.
Because he's practicing his behaviour and like to how he's perfectionist, he's like quite puritan and wants to suck up to Olivia sort of thing.
Right, well, it's interesting that you said about the Puritanism there, because actually this is directly at odds with the kind of Puritan belief of just kind of service and worship and being austere. Here, we see him practicing a performance. He's like an actor.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, so, but you were almost there, Laura. It's a really nice observation. Practicing, I mean, who does that? We only really see that in films, don't we, where, you know, soppy teenage girls are practicing kissing their pillows or something, which, I mean, yeah, I know Liliana's just giving me a look like nobody does that in real life. That's middle-aged male Hollywood producers, isn't it? I tell you what 13-year-old girls do. I digress, apologies. So, okay, that's a nice start. Let's go. Who's next? Who's from line 20 onwards? Is that you? And is it in yours, Bex?
Yeah.
Bex? What do I call you? I haven't called you. You don't get called. Am I better off calling you Bex?
Yeah.
Okay. I've only been teaching a half a term. You'd think I'd know her name by now. A presentation by Piper, Stephen and Becca. Okay. Right, this looks interesting. I can at least get it a bit bigger there. So as we move on, so Malvolio's entered, and the first thing that we've noticed here is this repetition of fortune, excellent, representing fate, and of course the material fortunes that are here. All of these slideshows I will put into our classroom, so don't feel like you've got to write every single thing down, but you should, as a minimum, be highlighting these quotations in your play. Yeah, and how fortune's interpreted differently by different characters. So it's used perhaps ironically here in that he won't end up marrying Olivia, because he and Orsina both think that their fate is to be with Olivia, but Olivia cannot have a fate of being with two different men. Oh, can she? Does Olivia actually end up with two different men, just not these men? Do you see where I'm going with that? So, for the purposes of the tape, I feel like I'm in a criminal investigation. The students are nodding affirmatively. You don't have to speak, you know. What else have we got? The rhetorical question of what should I think on it? making a turkey cock of him. Yeah, and then that highlighted one, to be Count Malvolio. It's an exclamative, it's an assertion as well. It's, even though it's kind of a question, it's implied that he will become Malvolio, the Count. And then this idea of pistoling him. If not shooting him, then at least of hitting him with a pistol. It's quite extreme, violent imagery there, isn't it? Right, lovely. Is this one just didn't finish it? Okay, let's have a look at it together then. There is an example for it with the Count Strachey. So, okay, so about line 35. Okay, there's a few things to look at here then. First of all, when he says, when Fabian says, look how imagination blows him. Did we look at that last week? Maybe that was a different class. Look how imagination blows him, swells him up. But if you look at your notes in the Arden, and that's why we make you buy the Arden edition, it tells us the metaphor, they've done our work for us, it's a metaphor, probably alludes to flies depositing eggs in rotten flesh. So this is a really nasty image, not just of Malvolio being all puffed up and, oh, I'm this and I'm that. He's now, Fabian's imagining him blown up with eggs that are going to burst into maggots. Something corrupt at the heart of Malvolio is being suggested there. So that's a really important line. And then what does Malvolio go on to imagine? What's he doing in this bit? Particularly that it so angers Sir Toby. Calling my officers about me in my branched velvet gown. I really want a branched velvet gown, by the way. It sounds lovely. Having come from a daybed where I have left Olivia sleeping. Again, for the camera, Neves pulled a distasteful face. What? Come on. What's he saying there? Pardon? He fornicate. Yeah, he's imagining after being 3 months married that they're really still quite hot for each other. You know, that they're even going at it in the middle of the day. And having fulfilled that marital purpose, there he is off to call his officers about it. So there's no mention yet of what? In his imaginings of being married to Olivia, what has not been mentioned? Love. But sex and power have. Good. Fire and brimstone. You know, Sir Toby is livid at this. And perhaps quite rightly so. Not only is this inappropriate in terms of like his status, but it is still his niece, isn't it? How are you doing at home? Are you making some good notes? Okay. And then to have the humour of states. Do you want to tell us about this one? That was Piper's, who's on the geography trip. Hi, Piper. We hope you enjoy watching this. And then to have the humour of state and after demure travel of regard, telling them I know my place as I would, they should do theirs. Irony there, perhaps? So he's going to tell his officers that he knows his place as he wishes they would know theirs. It's not really what's happening though, is it? And then his kinsman. That is about 49. So the irony there. And what about this bit? To ask for my kinsman Toby. Go on, how do you know from the language that he's having a dig at him and that he feels he's higher than him? What word is missing? Sir. Just calls him Toby and refers to him as family. Were you going to say something there, Morgan? Go on.
Would you not think that when you say that, it's more like a thought that he told you after
He definitely does, yeah. Absolutely, Morgan. He's hoping to be on the same level as Toby, but at this point, it just sounds disrespectful, doesn't it? George, have you written that down? I cannot impress upon you enough that you do not sit this exam until May or June, because who knows, 2022. So whatever you think you'll remember now, you lot probably can't remember what you had for your tea last night. What did you have for your tea last night? See what happened? What did you have?
Chinese.
Oh, what did you have for your Chinese?
Rice, noodles, chicken.
I had gammon and chips, broccoli, and some lovely thick sautéed mushrooms. No, I'm a fried egg girl on my gammon, but you know what? Eddie didn't put one on. I got halfway through and I went, Eddie, what's missing? Because that's the kind of 1950s relationship we have. He cooks for me and I chastise him. But even he was like, oh, I can't believe I forgot the egg. I'm lucky, aren't I? Lucky girl, go home, have me tea made. Good, so we've got a few things out of that. So that's what I mean about patiently looking for those clues of language, and often it's looking for what's missing. Bolts and shackles. And then what have we got here? So, look, first of all, 7 of my people. So he sends for Sir Toby. How many people does he send? 7. Why? Because he's what? I like that. He's assuming Sir Toby's drunk and he'll need to be manhandled. And who said something over there? Because he can. I can send 7 men to fetch him. And this suggests an abuse of power, doesn't it? Or at least an excessive use of it. While I frown the while and perchance wind up, watch or play with my some rich jewel. Now, in the in this one, the Tim Carroll version, there's a sexual innuendo made there, isn't there? Do you remember? As he talks about playing with something, he gestures towards his crotch area. That's completely missing from the RSC one. In the RSC one, it's totally about just the jewel, the money, the status. I love this point at the bottom. So Toby, Sir Andrew and Fabian are mirroring the position of the actual audience. Do you mean like the contemporary audience at the time? That they would have been... Oh, you don't know because Piper wrote it. Good. We've got Malvolio's materialistic motivations and how selfishly he wants to marry for selfish reasons. Right, lovely. Yeah, so I think we've gone through it. If I were you, I would move that up there, put the plot there to start with. So one of the things we're doing here is we're practicing as well how to put together good presentations, because you're going to be asked to do them either at university or in employment. I remember a couple of years ago when Eddie went for just a bog standard job at EE, and part of the interview process was that him and people he'd never met had to give a presentation. So you're not escaping them in your lives ever, I'm afraid. Morgan's nodding. And did they have to do a presentation? Yeah. Where are we at? Themes of fate and fortune, lust. This is nice. And in love with the idea of what he can achieve with Olivia by his side. Whose is that? Is that you, Stephen? Yeah. And we've got some key quotations pulled out there. Good. Is this what you were going to do? Right? And I love a little joke to end. Lovely, right, good stuff. Okay, so who's next? Who picks up after that? Is it you lot? Yeah? And whose slide am I opening? So, Lucy Whittingham. Okay. So, look, it looks, Jess, like we'll be finished this at 10. Now, as lovely as this is to see your delicious faces, I'm not. I might need a bit of help reading it. So we're focusing on the gulling of Malvolio. Didn't think through the background. I know.
You have to click.
Let's. There we go. Deep fantasies surrounding what it would be like to be the master of the house. Malvolio's self-deluded excitement is shown through the absence of C and P, and what he has read so far, further suggesting his social inhibitions. Can you explain that to me? What line are we on, first of all?
Near 90. Oh no, 85.
By my life, this is my lady's hand. These be her very C's, her U's, and her T's.
It's like in the letter, there like isn't any. So it's just like two things, so it's all absorbed.
Right. What else? This would be the bit I'm recording. As delicately as we can, what's going on in that bit? Wow. You teenagers, you know, who invented sex. Her C's, her U's, and her T's. Are we getting there? No? Think of a very vulgar word for a female genitalia. Ah, right. Now, that's not me being the English teacher who's obsessed with sex and death, right? Lots has been made about this. Shall we have a look at our notes in the Arden edition? Yeah? Did we look at our notes in the Arden edition? Yeah? Or did you just miss this bit out? Malvolio unwittingly spells out a double innuendo. The first, CUT, is a sexual allusion, slang for the female genitals, which, the second is an allusion to urination, perhaps implying abundant urination, perhaps implying social ambition rather than erotic suggestion. Isn't it also, okay, the best analogy I can make for this, have you all watched The Simpsons? No. When Bart rings the bar, and he prank calls them and he gets them to shout out a name that when you say is, I can't even think of an example now.
Like bend over.
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. And this is why we need Morgan. Is there a bend over in the bar? That's what's going on here. They're undermining, because one of the things that's been said is that Malvolio, he's so intelligent, he's so smart. But what does he do? What does Maria say he does with this learning? She says it, I think it's the end of Act 2:4 when she's talking about coming up with the idea, or 2:3. What does he do? What does he do with reading books? Does he understand what he reads? He doesn't. He just cons it to repeat it so that he sounds clever, but there's no substance to it. So here, part of making a fool of him is to get him to say things that make him look stupid. And they're quite disgusting things, actually, especially for a contemporary audience. Okay. Okay. Whoa, that's very pink. I tell you what, the context of this scene holds a massive capacity of importance. It's not just importance, it's got a massive capacity for it. Without this scene, remember that's what I've said to do, think about what would happen if you took this scene out. Without this scene, the characters of Olivia's household would be futile and profitless. I wish Hannah was here so we could ask her more what she meant by that. Although classed as a subplot, the different dialogues run as though they are two different plays. So I feel a bit mean because Hannah's not here, but that's a good example of where an examiner would be like, go on, what do you mean by that? In what way would they be futile? Like, what, they don't profit or the audience doesn't profit? Can you hear how it's a little bit vague? Malvolia's condescension, earlier indicated at by Olivia, has action against in this scene. And the hatred becomes a consolidated and practical joke. And there's some foreshadowing. Right, okay. I think one of the things about this scene as well is that for many audiences, if this was where the joke stopped, that would have been enough. But it isn't going to stop there. They're going to end up imprisoning Malvolio in the darkened room, in the cell. So what we're looking at are gradations of humour in this comedy. So could you make a note there about genre? Is this point still comic and still funny? And how does it set up what's going to happen next? Whoops. Oh, that's it. I've changed them all. That's better. So we've got the theme of hunting, deceit and ambition, and class and servitude are coming back. That's good. We've got some irony here. And we've got that motif of hunting. Good. And okay. And the key quotes. This is good. Again, all of these so far have been good. It's the first time that you've done a presentation. Morgan? Joy does. Yeah. She's probably checking that you're here. Mask. Thank you. So yeah, I'm pleased with these, but they need tons more AO2. Tons. Right. Lovely. Who's next? Is it your group? Yeah, is it under yours then? Does it matter whose name I click on?
No.
Right. In Lee's. Oh. Right. Right. So interested in whether there's any audience response for him, of sympathy, lines. Struggles with is there a bit of crossover here between your lines as well? No? Yes? Was yours supposed to start at 135? Finished at 135, okay. Oh yes, I see. So yours was from Jove Knows I Love and then picked up. So we've got some analysis here of language that's to do with a sadistic attitude towards love. That's interesting. Although the quote, "what a dish of poison," is what it suggested Maria has fed him. So let's just make sure that we're separating out. Don't just lump them together because they look like they might be about something. We've got the hunting. Yeah, and there's loads of the hunting imagery here. I'm glad you pulled all of that out. That's really important. He is now at a cold scent, though it be as rank as a fox. Hangley Brock, to the badger, and what wing the staniel. The motif is used in two ways, through love and through bullying. Okay, good. And then Maria being appreciated in the patriarchal society, and reinforces the scene of disguise and deception as being a graphologist for the key gulling of Malvolio. So there's something about language that's being developed, isn't there? They've got Malvolio to say things he wouldn't usually say. Maria's managed to copy the handwriting of her mistress. So there's something about language, and we've got language throughout with, what chapter is this lodged in about, I've unclasped to thee the secret soul of my bosom. All of that. Is it bosom? I've unclasped to thee the secret of my soul. I can't remember the quotations now. And helpful, I love a helpful quote. What can we do with the hoovering? Excellent wench. Yeah, there's lots of praise for Maria, isn't there? That Sir Andrew constantly, I could marry her for this. Me too. Yes, I love her too. And intimations of courtly love. That's interesting. Right, so some nice ideas there. Lovely. Let's move on to, is it Jess's group? Is it on yours, Jess? So yeah, his ego causes him to assume that it's about himself. And in the second half of the letter, he's given specific instructions. So it's not enough that they've watched this performance take place. They set up the next performance. They stage manage it, don't they? They stage manage his costume, his language, and his performance. They stage manage. Let's write this down. So it's like the next act of the play. I don't mean this play. I mean almost like the play within a play. So what I said there was that this second half of the letter basically helps direct Malvolio on what he's going to do next, what he's going to wear, what he's going to say, and how he's going to perform. So what does he have to wear? What does he have to wear, Jess? Yellow cross-gartered stockings. Excellent. Stephen, what does he have to, how does he have to perform?
Smile.
He has to smile all of the time. What does he have to say? And what kinds of things does he have to say? Yes, he does. He's got to distance himself from the chuff, hasn't he? And he's got to be positive and happy in what he says as well, which is at direct odds with how he has been. So all of that is being managed, right? So again, if we get a question about performance, this is gold dust, this second part of the letter, right? Right, some nice analysis here, nice and developed. Again, about Malvolio's self-absorption and not understanding the truth, how the truth is manipulated a lot in this play. It's excellent. In my stars, I am above thee, so that theme of fate again. And, oh, there you go, has unclasped the book of his secret soul. And I was close. Obviously, if I was sitting the exam, I'd have revised that properly. That's lovely. That's what I mean by that detailed and developed analysis. That's what I want to see, that amount of detail. That's the difference between GCSE and A-level, that big step up. So these are really good models. This is excellent, girls. You're definitely getting a sticker. This is fab. Some repetition. Yeah, I'm not going to read through all these because you can read through them all, obviously, in your own time. Lots of irony. Back to the motif of money and business. And yeah, and summing up, fade, business, a lack of love in all of this. Excellent work. Very, very thorough. So finally, we were looking at Lucy's, weren't we? So Lucy's not here, and she was going to finish it off last night, but she was quite poorly. Well, she wasn't doing so great, was she, last night? So we've got a couple of quotations there. So it might be if you two add a few more slides to that for me, and then when they're done, I can compile them all together. But we've got the idea of sport again, and the stuff about the yellow stockings. Right, good. Okay, so how are we going to consolidate all of that? I have produced a quotation sheet, which I'll put into our classroom now. And you've got 2 minutes per quotation. So, Rebecca, this is in response to, Bex, to something that you asked about what are the key quotations I should learn for every scene. And again, there isn't a right and wrong. This is just, Sunday morning, what I thought would be really good ones to learn. It could be if I did them again this afternoon, I choose something different, but these will stand you in good stead. So what we'll do for the rest of the lesson, you've got 20 minutes, which is 2 minutes per quotation on this table. And then if you spend the last 10 minutes going over, so we'll start at 3 scene 1 tomorrow. So if you need to reread that, I know we started a bit of work on that yesterday, but we'll spend more time on that tomorrow. And I'll also tomorrow be able to give you back your assessments and look at how we start really doing the kind of level of analysis that has been highlighted there by Jess and Grace. Okay, does that sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me. And now I stop. 38 minutes.